I finally finished completing Silent Hill F and wanted to give my thoughts. I've been a fan of this series for a long time, playing every entry that's released, even that dog shit The Short Message. And so my opinion that the last good Silent Hill game was The Room from all the way back in 2004 hasn't changed. Alright, so there will be spoilers ahead, and let's get on to it. So I'm going to start with what's easily this game's strongest aspect, which is its art design, environments, and atmosphere. It is a beautiful game with a very isolated feel to it. Watching the small rural Japanese village slowly become infested by this otherworldly growth before it's completely consumed, it all just looks wonderful. And that signature Silent Hill Otherworld is different compared to all the other games in the series, not appearing as a worn, bloody hell version of the reality the protagonist is typically in. It's portrayed more as an ancient Japanese afterlife of sorts, with old temples and torii gates aplenty. It's a nice design, it's just not what you would expect from a Silent Hill game. Alright, moving on. So, combat's never been a strong suit for the Silent Hill franchise, which matches the protagonists that are journeying into the titular town just being regular people, not combat-trained individuals, so you would expect them to be clunky while fighting these nightmares. Especially here, the main character Hinako is just a high school girl. Weapons are all melee with durability, breaking after so many hits unless you have a repair kit. At the start of the game, combat is less encouraged, with weapons not being as readily available. However, toward the end, fighting groups of enemies becomes mandatory to progress. Fights themselves are all about dodging, parrying when given the chance. A glow appears around your enemy during certain attacks. Then there's light and heavy attacks, and it doesn't change through the rest of the game. Except partway through, when you're in the other world, you are given certain abilities, but honestly, even that doesn't change the overall gameplay loop. The enemies you face throughout the game are all pretty samey, with there not being very much variety in the enemy types. While their designs are decent, you can approach every enemy the exact same way without having to give too much thought to any encounter. And really, once you find a sledgehammer, if you're able to keep it repaired, you'll be able to just breeze through any fight just fine. Outside of combat, gameplay consists of light exploration where you can discover charms to boost stats, items to increase inventory, and just other recovery items needed for basic survival. There are things you can also find that offer to save point shrines for currency that are needed for upgrades on Emma you can find throughout the world too. You'll also discover documents that hint at events occurring around town, as well as relationships Hinako has with other people around her. However, some of these notes are red herrings, suggesting a different, more interesting in my opinion, story than what we end up getting. Finally, on gameplay, there's the puzzles, which I actually thought were alright. Some of them are just requiring you to go pick up different talismans and such to activate doors or mechanisms, while others require you to read a passage and solve a puzzle going off of what's in that passage. There's nothing wild like fisting a clogged toilet, but yeah, I didn't really have any issues with the puzzles. Now into the story, which begins in a rural village during the 1960s with the main protagonist, Hinako, in an argument with her father before storming outside, heading toward the town to meet with some friends. You're also given a brief introduction to Hinako's big sister, Junko, that has recently been in an arranged marriage during this opening prior to the fight with her father. After a brief walking section where you can explore your neighborhood, you meet with your three friends at the local general store. The first is Shu, Hinako's best friend that clearly has feelings for her. He also gives her these red capsules that he's made himself as a medicine to help with some sort of neurological disease Hinako apparently has. Then there's Rinko, another one of their friends that has feelings for Shu and seems to think that Hinako's getting in the way of her being with him. And finally there's Sakuko, the odd friend out of the group and daughter of the family that takes care of the local shrine. Not long after they all get together, a fog rolls into town, and Sakuko is consumed by a growth of strange red plants. Hinako and the others are then chased by a mysterious presence in the fog that is spreading the same growth that killed Sakuko as it approaches. After escaping, Hinako then makes her way through back alleys to the store to try to regroup with her friends. After arriving back at the store, she finds that Sakuko is actually dead. That wasn't a fake out, despite it seeming like she'd be a main character you'd run into throughout the game, which I guess does show how most side characters will be treated throughout the story. At the general store, Hinako gets into a fight and falls unconscious after killing several enemies. This is the first time she enters the other world. There she meets the Fox Mask, a strange man that first acts as a guide for Hinako throughout the other world before revealing his true nature. From here, the rest of the story is split between Hinako searching for her friends and trying to escape town, and her traveling in the other world becoming the Fox Mask's bride. The trial scenes are pretty brutal, with Hinako gaining her Fox Mask, which reveals that she was the creature in the fog that's been chasing the other Hinako throughout the game. And I mean, that whole part was pretty cool. Now, on your first playthrough, you can only get one ending, where Hinako snaps after the hallucinogenic red capsules that Shu has been giving her, causes her to have a mental breakdown, killing several people at her wedding, including the groom. It then takes a total of 3 playthroughs to get the true ending and full story. One of the issues I had is that no matter which playthrough you're on, your friends don't actually matter that much to the overall plot of the game. Shu only factors into accidentally driving Hinako mad in that one ending, and then there's another where he runs away with her and it's treated as a bad ending, despite it hinting at them having feelings for each other, and she had already stopped taking the red capsules at that point as well. Rinko and Sakuko were both there to be boss fights in the other world and leave notes stating that they didn't really actually like Hinako and wanted her to go away. There is a section in the other world where you solve some puzzles to kill all 3 of your friends as Hinako accepts her role as the Fox Bride. It also seems like Rinko's set to be the antagonist in the reality sections, but her and Shu disappear after the school section, which is slightly past the midway point of the game, only to both reappear at the very ending as hanging corpses with Sakuko. Junko also appears in some cutscenes just to show the loyal wife that Hinako doesn't want to be, similar to their mother. Her father is briefly shown to be an unforgivable abuser who only gets a human moment in the true ending, where he apologizes to Hinako for selling her and being such an abusive father, saying that she could do whatever she wants and he'll support her, with her mother giving an explanation to why he's such a jaded man. The playthroughs also aren't that much different from each other until you return to your house toward the ending, where depending on what extra steps you took, changes the interactions you'll have inside and what final boss you'll face. The main differences are adding the sacred sword you can unlock during the second playthrough, which is needed for the different endings, and it also skips the trials in the other world for Hinako just to wake up as the Fox Bride once you reach that part in the story, which does cut some time off your other playthroughs. I'd also recommend turning the difficulty down if you are planning to go for the other endings. It just makes the entire thing less of a slog. The true ending is also pretty underwhelming, with Hinako deciding she wants to live her own life the way she wants to, showing that she's received letters from the man she was supposed to marry, as they're trying to get to know each other a little bit better, leaving the possibility of them actually getting married still open, but offers no resolutions to any of her friends' stories. And while it's not the case, throughout the story it was hinted at that Hinako might actually be dead and is haunting the town, with notes about a child drowning in the same fields where Hinako was lost as a child, and characters like Rinko outright stating that Hinako was dead to Shu. This could have led to more interesting endings and story payoffs, like Shu actually imagining Hinako the whole time since he felt responsible for her death as a child or something like that. But instead we got the story of a girl that just didn't want to grow up or get married in an arranged marriage, which I understand the second part, but in the end she ended up getting everything she wanted, which was pretty lame. I will also say that it could be interpreted that the whole town is dead at the end of the true ending, with radio broadcast throughout speaking about earthquakes and geysers erupting in town spreading toxic gas, and in the final shot of the true ending when Hinako is looking over the town, it is flooded. So maybe everyone was a ghost and the fog was actually the town being destroyed. But who could say? The joke UFO ending was the best ending out of all 5 that are available, and it's not even close. Looking like a retro animation, it's pretty quick and easy to also get during your second playthrough if you want to check it out. So in conclusion, I think this would have done better if they just made it a new IP rather than a Silent Hill installment. Which is disappointing because I was hoping this would bring some new life back to the franchise, doing something original instead of just being a remake of an earlier installment, but maybe next time. It is a great looking game, but lacks where it matters in gameplay and story. If you're interested in trying it out yourself, I'd say wait for a sale. It's not terrible, just underwhelming. Well, see you later.